good people, and welcome back to my channel. Okay, today we are going to be discussing my personal health struggles, my chronic illness journey, if you will. What's wrong with me? How long has it been wrong with me? What am I doing about it, and how does it impact my life? I'm going to tell you what life is like with a chronic illness. Okay, let's start with the timeline of my illness. First symptom, first thing I can ever remember, as far back as I can remember, which is about 5 years old. I have had a constant headache, like a muscle tension headache around this part of my head since I can remember. I didn't mention it to anyone growing up because I thought it was just normal. When I became 15, I started noticing that my pain was getting worse. I was having pain in my arms, pain in my neck, especially my shoulders. My headaches were getting worse. My arms were weaker. I couldn't do pull-ups that year. The year before, I had done 10 perfectly fine for the presidential fitness test. The next year, I was a mess in sophomore year when I was 15. I also had chronic fatigue and terrible insomnia and worsening all over body pains. I started seeing doctors at this time. I saw a neurologist for my headaches. He didn't know what was causing them. Never really got any resolution there. They did some tests. Everything came back normal because of course it did. That's a moral of the story. Everything always comes back normal. Not a moral. That's a part of the story. All my tests usually come back normal, which is pretty normal for people that have struggled with things for a long time. Not everybody gets a clear-cut result the first time they go to a doctor. My symptoms started getting worse the older I got. They got worse in college. I started having gastroparesis for the first time. I also started having some of the symptoms of POTS. I got dizziness, tunnel vision. I almost passed out several times. It was a mess. I was unable to go to class regularly because of my health problems. I was exhausted, I was sleeping through class, or I was just too sick to get out of bed. There's been several points in my life when I've been bedridden for months at a time, half a year at a time or more. I was unable to hold a job after college. I actually moved to New York City and I got a job working as an office assistant in the Empire State Building. It was gorgeous. It had the views. I was so happy living my best life, but I had vertigo so often I had to leave work. I was getting sick all the time. I had to call out of work. I had to take time out of work to go to doctor's appointments, which my boss was not happy about. So yeah, I was unable to hold my job due to sick days, calling out, and just having to go to doctor's appointments on a regular basis just to try and maintain. And I was barely getting by. If they hadn't have fired me, I probably would have quit because honestly, after a few months, I could not keep it together. There was no way I could have kept going. Although my gastroparesis cleared up after about 6 months when I initially got it in college, I got it again. I had a resurgence and I lost over 100 pounds. I had gained about 80 pounds over the course of a year because I needed steroids because the joints in my hands were going numb. I couldn't feel my fingers. So they gave me about 3 rounds of steroids until it got better. But as that got better, my weight spiraled out of control. I lost all that weight though as soon as I got the gastroparesis. I lost about 10 pounds a month until I had lost 100 pounds or more. I got down to almost 100 pounds myself, which was not healthy for my height. I've also had a recent surge of temperature intolerance. I can't stand it if it's too cold. I need everything to be warm all the time. But then again, if it's too warm, I get really dizzy and sick. I feel like I'm going to pass out, so I have to have things at a perfect temperature nowadays. I have worsening severe pain in my neck and my shoulders and my arms. My arms actually tingle and go numb and ache constantly. If I try to do anything like cook or clean or do computer work, anything, my arms will start aching and will probably go numb within 5 to 10 minutes, and it's painful. I also was hospitalized around this time. Let's see, it was about 2 years ago maybe, for severe dehydration and intense stomach pains. I felt like I was about to die, honestly. It was so scary. I spent 4 days in the hospital. They considered giving me a feeding tube because I just couldn't eat. Luckily, I didn't have to have that. I found some medicine that finally helped me eat. Let me know if you want to hear more about the medicines, the natural ways that I stimulate my appetite nowadays. Yeah, it was a horrible experience. It was scary, and it's not the first time I've been hospitalized or rushed to the emergency room, and it probably won't be the last, although I wish it were the last. It's just something that I've had to deal with. I also developed this. I don't know if you can tell I'm shaking right now, but I am. The shakiness is also a side effect of my POTS. I don't know why, but it makes me very shaky sometimes. I'm currently undergoing treatment for my POTS, my gastroparesis, and my chronic pain. I see several doctors, a lot of doctors at Hopkins because I do live in the Baltimore area. I've also been diagnosed with Sjogren's. They said it's abnormal. Like, I would be flagged if I was in a study, but technically I have it, so I don't know what that means, but I have that going on. And I'm borderline for some other autoimmune diseases. This we're still exploring. I don't have any more diagnoses yet, but my test results are always borderline to suspect. So I don't know what else is going on there. Maybe one day I'll find out. Who knows? Right now, that's what I'm undergoing treatment for. So as I've mentioned a few times, I have something called POTS, or postural orthostatic tachycardia syndrome. I'm going to call it POTS because that's much easier. That is a type of dysautonomia that causes orthostatic intolerance associated with tachycardia, which is a really fast heart rate. And orthostatic intolerance, of course, is having a hard time standing. Once you stand up, it causes your heart to race at least 30 beats per minute faster than it's supposed to, and this leads to dizziness, fainting, all sorts of things. POTS is a type of dysautonomia. Dysautonomia is an umbrella term for medical conditions that affect the functioning of the autonomic nervous system. POTS has so many symptoms, and it varies from person to person. I couldn't paint you a picture of every single person's experience because it's just so different for so many of us. POTS has many symptoms which can vary from person to person, but include things like headaches, dizziness, nausea, fainting, blood pooling, fatigue, and coat hanger pain, which is pain in the neck and shoulders in the shape of a coat hanger, if you can imagine a coat hanger back there. POTS causes a lot of different symptoms. Like I said, it varies from person to person, but there are at least 20 different symptoms I could think of off the top of my head that are all associated with POTS. I also is associated with brain fog, so sometimes I can't think of things off the top of my head. So that is what POTS is. So what is gastroparesis? Gastroparesis is a condition that affects the stomach muscles and may cause delayed stomach emptying, or improper stomach emptying, if it empties at all. Gastroparesis can affect your digestive process. Gastroparesis has several symptoms, including nausea, vomiting, feeling full, and weight loss, all of which I've experienced personally. I always have a loss of appetite. Like I said, I need medicine to be able to eat, so it's something that I deal with on a daily basis. It's a daily struggle to get my meals down because of the gastroparesis. Unlike the last time that I've had it, I've been treating this for over a year now, maybe a year and a half, and it still hasn't gone away. So it's under control. I'm thankful for that. I'm thankful for the medications. But yeah, it's not going away this time. So I also suffer from chronic pain head to toe. What is chronic pain? Chronic pain is a persistent pain lasting weeks to months to years to the rest of your life. Chronic pain is persistent pain that is usually caused by inflammation or dysfunctional nerves. I'm not really sure what causes my chronic pain, but I know that I have it from head to toe, 24/7. Sometimes I even dream it's more painful than it actually is in real life, so there's that. But yeah, chronic pain is always with me. I can take certain medications that kind of dial it down, but there's a price to pay because of that, and they don't completely work. Nothing cures my pain. Nothing totally gets rid of my pain, no matter what. My worst pains are in the neck and the arms and the shoulders. That's the worst area for me. It's always tight. It always aches. I put pain cream on it constantly. That kind of helps. I take certain pain medications. That also kind of helps, but nothing completely solves that ever. Okay, so that's me. Now, let's talk about how that impacts my life. There is a physical impact on my life for sure. I am unable to hold a job because I have too many missed days and I never know if I'm able to show up or not. I'm actually legally disabled on disability because of my inability to work right now because of my chronic illnesses. It limits the time I'm able to be out and functional before I start to head downhill. Even with my medications on board, I get exhausted really quickly and I get burnt out doing the simplest things like just trying to run errands, and usually after an hour or two, I have to come home and I usually wind up sleeping. And if I really push myself, I'll wind up sleeping for like days in a row. It causes me constant pain and physical distress, which I probably don't have to spell out to you, isn't super fun to live with. Like I mentioned before, I'm unable to eat without medication, so eating and mealtime is always a struggle for me. I usually only eat about once a day. I try and drink a lot of liquids, but I don't have a solid meal more than once a day usually. Like I said, I need to rest all the time. Like this weekend, I literally slept Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. I was up maybe 4 or 5 hours across that whole span of time. I need a lot of rest, and I still feel horrible when I wake up. It's better than if I don't sleep because I also struggle with insomnia and chronic pain-related insomnia. It kind of wakes me up in the middle of the night. But yeah, if I don't sleep, I can't function. I'm struggling to do everyday things like shower, brush my teeth, put on my clothes. Do I do these things? Yes. Is it a struggle like never before? Yes. And it's exhausting and painful. Because of my POTS, I can't stand for excessive periods of time or be exposed to hot temperatures for excessive periods of times. No saunas or hot tubs for me. I can't really stand in line at, say, like the airport waiting in TSA line. Like, I have to use a wheelchair. I take a wheelchair when I go shopping sometimes. I just can't stand that long, especially in a line. I'm better at being able to walk, but standing still, that like kills me with the POTS. I struggle to care for myself physically, and I need assistance with things like cooking and cleaning. I get help from my parents right now. My mom does so much for me. I'm so thankful for her, but at the same time, like, I hate that I even have to ask her to do any of this for me. But my arms are to the point where like I could barely use them and they go numb and they really hurt when I try. So I can do something for about 5 minutes, but I can't accomplish the whole task. It's just been a physical limitation of mine this past year. The worst struggle, I'd say, is showering. If you watched my last video, you see I touched on this, but yeah, showering is exhausting, it is painful, it is the worst combination of heat and standing and having to use my arms, so I'm scrubbing and I'm washing and I'm shaving, and I use a shower stool to sit in, so it's not as miserable, but still, my blood pools in my legs by the end. I'm exhausted, I need to lie down, I need to hydrate with like tons of water, and it takes all my spoons, and I'm basically done for the day. So it's a real hassle to try and plan around this. Okay, those are some of the physical impacts of my life. Let's talk about the emotional impact of chronic illness. It is isolating. It is isolating. Let me tell you, you will find out who your true friends are if you are chronically ill, because people do not like to put up with it unless they're really dedicated to you or they really understand what's going on. A lot of people will leave you or abandon you, even your own family sometimes. Like, they might not believe what's going on with you, and it can be very isolating. I felt so alone for years because nobody believed what was going on with me. They just thought I was depressed, and it was a very difficult emotional period in my life. If it's not bad enough your friends and family don't believe you, sometimes doctors don't even believe you. Medical professionals, so many of them have told me time and time again that I'm just depressed and it's all in my head, and if I just sat in the sun for 30 minutes a day or took a walk, I would feel so much better, telling me this when I'm practically bedridden because of all the pain I'm in. No, that's not depression. I'm sorry. I have something going on, and now they finally have a label for it, so people are like, oh, you have POTS. But before, the struggle to get people to understand was real. And even if they did believe that something was going on, I've literally had doctors cry on me before and tell me they just have no idea what to do for me or how to help me. They think something's wrong. They believe me, but nothing's showing up in the tests, so they just don't know what to do. Oh, here's a great one. People telling me how amazing I look when I'm literally starving and can't eat and just got out of the hospital and might need a feeding tube because I can't eat. They're telling me how great I look in clothes, how fantastic I'm looking. Oh, you're so beautiful. No, I'm not trying to lose weight on purpose. I am ill and I am starving right now. That is not what I want to hear. I get this coming from a good place and people are just trying to compliment you, but I'm not doing this on purpose. I'm not losing weight to look good. I literally can't eat, so you don't understand what's happening. Here's another one, being told you're too young to be sick, even though illness has no age. I'm pretty sure St. Jude exists because babies get cancer, so you're not too young to have a chronic illness, but I've been told by so many doctors, oh, you're too young to feel this way. I wish that was true. If I was too young to feel this way, I would be having a much better life, I promise you. Sometimes people don't even believe you're sick because of how you look. Because you put yourself together for the day, because you put on makeup and got dressed, they think that means that you're fine and there's nothing wrong with you. They might accuse you of lying or exaggerating or being delusional or somaticizing, or just exaggerating your symptoms in general. It's rough when you're trying to get a diagnosis and there's not something that's obviously wrong with you. It's a big struggle for a lot of us. Oh, being told that your medication is causing your symptoms when you're taking your medication because of those symptoms in the first place, and then you stop taking your medication and you still have all the same symptoms, then people want to believe you. But while you're on the medication, so many doctors are so quick to jump and blame the medication because they don't like it or they feel like maybe it's not appropriate for you even though it's being prescribed to you. It's so difficult to differentiate between the medication causing side effects and your actual symptoms sometimes, but you know the difference. You know the symptoms that you were having before you started taking the medication, and you know why you're taking the medication in the first place. So it's very frustrating when people say that your medication is causing your problems. The worst thing I'd say I went through with my chronic illness was not being believed by my family, and I felt so abandoned and alone. My family didn't believe I was sick. My brother always kind of stuck by me, but my parents did not believe I was chronically ill. They thought there was something emotionally wrong with me and I was just refusing to grow up when I was literally trying my hardest to function and I was begging them for help. They kind of turned a blind eye until I finally got approved for disability and I finally got a diagnosis, and they started spending more time with me. They finally understood what was wrong with me and that I'm actually suffering with something and that it's not all in my head. But it was a long road with them, and now they help me and they're so supportive and I couldn't be more grateful for them. But back in the day, we had a lot of tension and problems between us and family problems as a whole because they didn't believe what was going on with me and nobody could explain it to them. Another problem that I've had to deal with is friends going away because you're flaky for canceling all the time when you would love to be there, but sometimes your chronic illness just gets in the way. That doesn't mean you're a bad friend. I tried my hardest to be there for people no matter what, but some people just didn't want to stick around or they didn't understand what was wrong and they thought I was just being a bad friend, so they stopped texting me. Or even if they didn't think I was being a bad friend, they were just tired of me not showing up and they figured I wouldn't show up no matter what. So they figured there's no point in inviting Emily anymore. But your girl MZ loves to party. Just kidding. But your girl MZ tries to go out as much as possible. I do have some amazing friends. Like, shout out to my bestie. She's always there for me, and we talk almost daily, and we have a great relationship, and she never judges me for being sick. So there are people out there that will get it and will stick by your side. But there are other people who will leave you. Like, I don't have any of my friends from high school or college anymore because they were just sick of it. It happens. You can actually become depressed because you see yourself losing function and like you see your life kind of falling apart. It feels like that. It feels like you're losing everything when you first start getting really symptomatic. I mean, I've been symptomatic most of my life, but it got really intense in my teens and 20s, and it kept declining every year. Every couple years, I would get sicker and sicker, so I had a lot of experience. And all of this together combined to make me depressed. I was depressed for a time, and that didn't give me more or less like physical symptoms, but emotionally it was very taxing to like feel that way. And I also naturally feel anxiety. POTS is often mistaken for an anxiety disorder, so I feel that rapid heartbeat feeling often. So depression and anxiety, they are real symptoms and they are real problems that can pop up when you're going through the emotional struggles of dealing with a chronic illness. And it's nothing to be ashamed about, and you can get help for it. I did, but it's real. And that doesn't invalidate what you're feeling physically, but it's another emotional component you're going to have to like look at and deal with if you have that going on. Hi, kitty. Meow. Having a chronic illness is also boring. It may sound like a dream to sit at home every day and watch TV, but if you've been experiencing the pandemic at all and seeing how boring it is to sit home day after day after day, you might have a little insight into what it's like living life with a chronic illness. Sitting at home, quarantining has basically been my life for years. I can't remember when I went out on a regular basis. And that's not because I don't want to. It's because I literally just do not feel up to it. I try my hardest. But some days I just cannot go out of the house. And all I can do is sit on the sofa and watch TV or listen to music or like sometimes read a book, but my arms are iffy with that one because it kind of hurts them sometimes. So maybe listen to an audiobook. But yeah, it's a boring situation. There's only so much you can do in a room by yourself. It's also very lonely to have a physical illness, especially when people aren't believing you. But even if they do believe you, you still feel kind of lonely because you spend a lot of time alone, most likely, and you're also going through something which the people around you probably don't totally understand. That's why I feel like it's helpful to reach out to a group of people who have a similar illness and who do understand. But if you're just experiencing it by yourself, it can be very lonely. It's hard on your social life, like I mentioned. It's difficult to keep friends. It's difficult to go out. When you're sick, you probably don't feel like dancing all night and like drinking at the bar. You might want to spiritually, but like physically, I know I can barely tolerate alcohol anymore, so it's not really an option for me. And because of the POTS, standing and dancing is one of the worst activities I could do. So yeah, I haven't been able to do anything like that with my friends in ages. And when I tried to, it was terrible, so it just wasn't worth it. But yeah, it's very taxing on your social life. As taxing as it is on your social life, having a chronic illness is even more taxing on your romantic life. It is exhausting to date. If you think dating is exhausting now, try dating with a chronic illness. Not to mention, a lot of people don't want to put up with that. Like, they don't want to date someone sick when they could date someone normal. The good people out there like won't care and will give you a chance anyway, but some people are very judgmental of that and like will turn you down just because you have a chronic illness and they don't want to take care of you. It's also just physically exerting trying to have a romantic relationship with someone. Like, it's exhausting just going out on a date and walking around. I don't know. For me, it's just an exhausting experience. I push myself to do it every now and then, but like it usually never goes anywhere because I'm so burnt out after the date. I just don't even want to follow up. It's just too exhausting. I just feel like I'm wasting their time. as much as I would love a boyfriend and a husband one day, I'm not rushing into anything or like actively really looking for anything right now just because I don't feel like I could give my all to a relationship. That being said, there's plenty of people with chronic illness that have amazing relationships and marriages and families, but I'm just not there yet personally, unless somebody just drops out of the sky who understands and is willing to sit home with me and watch Netflix 24/7. If you know, DM me. It's just emotionally very challenging and draining to deal with constant pain or constant illness. You just, like, you're okay. I feel like you get to a place of acceptance where you're okay with it most of the time, but then you just have those emotional moments where you just wish it could stop. You wish it could end for one day. You just like are begging for it to stop for 5 minutes just so you can have a moment of peace and like sanity and just relaxing for once in your life. But you know that's not going to happen most likely, so you learn to live with it. And you keep going and looking for answers. There's always hope you can get better and improve your situation, but you're probably not going to cure it overnight. So it's important you learn to live with it or it'll like hurt you emotionally. It's also like emotionally difficult to have to rely on others and lose your independence, or at least some of your independence. I know for me, I've had to give up a lot and I feel like a child sometimes because I have to rely so much on other people to take care of me, but I'm pushing myself to do my best, and that's honestly the most I can give right now. I am trying my hardest and I'm going to push myself every day to do better, but I need help. And it's hard to admit that, and it's hard to give up a lot of the things that I used to do by myself, but it's what's best for me. It's what's necessary right now. And that's something that I've had to come to terms with emotionally. All right, this is my current life situation. Having said all that, that's my emotional and my physical experience of chronic illness, but this is the facts of my life. This is kind of my everyday. These are my everyday struggles or the things that I face on a regular basis. I live at home with my family for financial reasons. I'm on disability, which really does not pay my bills. I'm grateful that I get it, but it's not enough to really be able to live on my own and also afford any type of lifestyle. I mean, I also can't afford my medications even with disability because they're not all covered by my insurance company. So I have to have my family kind of help me out on that too right now. It's just a nightmare. I'm barely getting by. I don't really have any savings because I kind of have to spend everything each month just to like have the essentials. So I decided to move home with my parents to just kind of try and save as much money as possible. And also, I honestly do use their help a lot. I need them for things like cooking and cleaning. So without their help, I would really struggle to get by. Even when I was living on my own, my mom was at my apartment twice a week, and she did most of the chores for me, I have to say. I also can't drive because my arm pain, weakness, numbness, whenever I try to hold a steering wheel, my arms just are not having it. They go numb and they start to hurt intensely pretty immediately, and I can't hold that position for any extended period of time. I know how to drive. I learned when I was younger, but I haven't been able to drive in years. I also am on certain medications that I feel like are unsafe to drive on. They definitely warn you not to drive if you're taking these medications. So I personally don't feel comfortable driving and being like on medication. I'm at a plateau with my medical treatment right now. I'd say everything is stable. Since the COVID pandemic started, I haven't really been in to see any of my doctors. I've had a few video conferences with them, but they kind of just want to maintain the status quo and not rock the boat since like this whole COVID situation is going on. I was seeing a physical therapist for like exercises before, but I can't really do that. Haven't done that since this all started. I'm stable with some things like my POTS, like my dizziness is pretty much under control as long as I avoid certain triggers, and my gastroparesis is pretty much stable. Like I figured out a way to eat enough to maintain my weight, but I'm also sliding back in some areas. Like I'd say my chronic pain is getting worse and I'm not really sure what to do about it. I'm trying to figure out solutions. I've been also sleeping way too much. I literally sleep from 6 p.m. until 12 p.m. the next day. Sometimes I sleep for days at a time. Also, my arms are getting worse. The pain and the numbness and the tingling is getting worse and worse each day. It feels like I really don't have that under control, but all the tests were normal, of course, so I'm not really sure what to make of that. I'm at a place of acceptance, but I'm not giving up hope, and I'm never going to give up trying to improve my quality of life and my condition and my functionality. But at the same time, I'm not emotionally in turmoil because I have this. I've come to a place of peace and acceptance with it, and I've realized, okay, this is my burden. Like, what can I learn from it? It teaches me patience. It teaches me empathy. It teaches me compassion. So I'm just trying to use this experience to grow as a person as best I can, since I can't change it or make the pain stop. I will never give up searching for answers. If you're out there and you have a chronic illness, like, do not give up hope. There are other people out there struggling with something similar to you or the same as you. Keep fighting, keep going. You will find answers eventually, and you'll eventually get that diagnosis and be able to start targeting treatments towards whatever's going on with your body. You aren't alone. Keep going no matter what. All right, guys, that's all I have for today. Thanks so much for tuning in. Be sure to like and subscribe for new awesome content. I'm not sure how often I'm going to post videos yet, but I'll let you know. They're going to be regularly. Let's just say like for new videos regularly, or subscribe, I guess, but you can like it too. Please go ahead and give this content a like if you enjoyed. Like I said, don't be shy. Hit that button. It helps me out so much. Don't give up, stay strong, and fight on. All right, I have been MZ Caps. Be sure to follow me on social media at CEmilyPlay. Okay, bye-bye.